We all know how much fun this is, whether it's a queue at Home Affairs or the licensing department at your local municipality. Have you tried that one lately, by the way? We all have reasons to complain. Now, though, government says they are trying to fix this. It's about time. It plans to professionalise the public service. And now Cabinet has even approved a framework to get it done. It includes, I understand, recruitment criteria and performance management. Well, let's discuss it with public leadership expert. It is Professor Erwin Schwella, Emeritus Professor at Tilburg Law School. Prof, good to have you with us on the show. I really appreciate your time. Allow me to start the conversation by taking a deep breath and reading the title of this, and then you tell me what it means. All right, are you ready? Here we go. It is the National Implementation Framework towards the Professionalisation of the Public Service. Okay, so how do we make sense of that very fancy title? Is it going to work?
Well, that's not the only thing to make sense of. Within that particular document, there are numerous other quite verbose and ambitious statements which we also have to make sense of. And sense-making as an essential part of human life is also related to what we experience in the context. Now, so there's some kind of sense-making which is linked to our lived experiences. We see that public service is generally, it ranges from weak to non-existent. In most cases, one experiences this when you're standing in long lines to be served at the Home Affairs Department, or when you are waiting out of a SASSA office, or when you are arriving at a post office, which is in some ways a state-owned entity, and it's closed. So public service and essential services, such as water, sewage, transport, health, are completely under-professionalized. If we are therefore going to be able to get some of these things going with this particular approach, it will be great. We must, however, also realize that there are already many laws and regulations and even programs. Who remembers Batu Pele and the whole notion of Ubuntu? If we are, and we should be all for Ubuntu, then we can ask about our public services, which should be driven by a professional public service, whether there is any Ubuntu there. So, yes, contextualize, it is a fairly complex topic with this very contrived title. And then the next step is to unpack it and see whether it will make any sense, and not only any sense, a difference to public service and to public services being delivered.
And I suppose that is what this all needs to come down to. Is it going to make a difference in the end as well? I suppose, Prof, one could look at this as an admission from government, isn't it? That they have gotten this wrong. They know that public service should be a lot more professional. It clearly isn't. And now they want to try and professionalize this as well. So would you agree with me if I say that it looks like government has finally realized that this is not going very well at all?
This is not the first and will probably not be the final realization that governance as a part of public service delivery has failed. We know that the president himself has, in many cases, admitted to very unethical public service, which is not professional. The president has said that in numerous cases there has been extreme corruption. That is confirmed by the Zondo Commission. Our Constitution actually requires public service, in terms of the values of public service, to be somewhat or representative of the population of the country. Secondly, to be effective and ethical. And if we measure our public service and what happens in the public service and is committed by public servants, it doesn't live up to the constitutional standards. So therefore, the president has admitted to, and we have seen many indications of failing public services. So not the first time, and probably also not the last time. Let's hope that this good faith initiative will in some way start to make a difference. However, I don't hold my breath, and I'm not too hopeful.
Just in conclusion, Prof, just very briefly, if it's at all possible, if you were to use this professionalization of the public service in one sphere, of public service? It's an unfair question, I realize, but I hope you'll go with it for me. In one element of public service, where would you want a focus to be the first thing that you'd like to see, and in which department?
Well, I think we should start with education, and really work on probably the second most important thing. Education builds our future, and safety and security, which includes the whole justice and police cluster, secures our current reality. So those two would be emphasized, and then of course that is all supported by good public service. And that needs to be then done professionally within the Department of Public Service and Administration and all of the other departments.
I really appreciate your time. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, Prof. Thank you so much. Professor Erwin Schwella, Emeritus Professor at Tilburg Law School.